I'm gonna make this about 15 minutes. I got my little friend Mr. Snail down here. I don't want him to get hurt. I want to love him or something. I'm making this video about my internet history. The internet. It's a vague thing, I guess. But we know what it is. It's the general connectivity of stuff, and the connectivity of stuff in kind of a latent form. But I guess there's like 5 broad categories that I've existed in. I've never existed in, I feel like there's supposed to be this social internet where you socialize with like people you know. What I started with though was like I guess there's a meme internet, which is the internet broadly. Then what I started with was that, and the gaming internet, which was these different wikias. I don't know if there's a Zeldapedia, but Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, Resident Evil, those games that I'd watch my brothers play. And then whenever because back then I think we had one of those, CRT looking computers, which gave off all that dust and stuff in the air that when the sun shines, you're just looking at all this particulate from it running. But whenever that was still logged in, which wasn't too common as far as I remember. Hello, Mr. Snail. I would log in, look up that sort of stuff. Numa videos, Weird Al, sort of all the inchoate memes you could find on YouTube, and all the kind of easily accessible. I don't know if I went to Bulbapedia at this time, probably not. And I guess when I think of the internet, I think of media more broadly, because the internet is the way to kind of simulcast all this media. Streaming, but we think of streaming as like something slightly different, because streaming isn't like a www that you type in, and it doesn't have all the hyperlinks and stuff like that, right? It doesn't have this interactivity aspect. Hell, streaming doesn't even have like, this many people viewed this video, which is like to, keep the hype up so they don't have to show you that, like, killing my mom and making it look easy on Netflix, the real crime documentary, has only like 20 views or something like that. No, I feel like that would have to be like the top 5 actually, so it would have to be like 2 million. But the things I remember, devices, started out device-wise, I forget if it was probably just a reader, and I'd eventually just smash that reader out of frustration because I was trying to look something up. I don't know what I was trying to look up, but I was trying to look something up, and I just smashed it out of frustration. And I guess that was the only device I had at the time, because maybe my laptop was broken and phone was broken too. It shows a huge amount of privilege, of course, to have that. But at the same time, having that technology, having that privilege doesn't mean you like take advantage of it, though I did to some extent. I moved on to an iPod Touch, and I got an iPhone in I believe high school, something like that. I forget the timeline, so I can't be really too specific, but got real into YouTube when I was able to, because the reader, right, that was kind of a continuation. You can access it, right, but you can't really watch YouTube on that kind of reader. It's like a fucking piece of shit. It's for reading books, and it's not even that good for reading books. There's like so much latency. There's so much fucking lag. Goddamn, I hated that reader. I'm glad I fucking destroyed it. My brother Joe was like, hey, this is gonna be useful. Someone's gonna want it. And I was like, no, it's not gonna be useful. Nobody's gonna want it. I'm just throw it away and make it, someone in Abo Bloshi, Ghana is gonna like burn it for parts and they're gonna get cancer. I'm sorry. To that person in Ghana who's probably also Muslim. Sorry. Yeah. So moved to iPod Touch. Man, I've had so many fucking iPods, because I'm like a klutz, kind of have bad memory with stuff, bad, bad, and, crashing things, overheating, bending, cracking screens, all that sort of stuff, and the usual puberty stuff like that. It's stupid how we think our pain is unique. But I guess it's technically true. Yeah, so when I got into YouTube at first, I got into gaming YouTube. Then I got into atheist YouTube, becoming a bit more edgy, becoming more teenagery. Though I was edgy since like 4th grade. That's when I started swearing to make people be like, oh yeah, he's edgy. Or I was just annoying, I guess, which is like a continuation of things, which kind of makes sense overall. Or annoying, whatever the fuck, being forced to go into school and me acting the way I do is me crossing a line or something, even though I didn't agree to be there in the first place. Like, oh, you're like, oh, what else, could you have done? Shit. There's no negotiating, there's no reasoning in this world. No, but, gaming YouTube, atheism YouTube, anime YouTube, personality YouTube, political YouTube. And political YouTube is kind of the YouTube that I'm a part of now. And I think all throughout it, you're also still with the memes. And gaming YouTube was both gaming sites, the wikias. I was into young and like organizing that information, sort of. I don't know how smart I've been, but when I was young, I'd like to read like Percy Jackson, stuff like that, and play Pokemon. A little later, I played Zelda Ocarina of Time. Played that while watching like SourceFed, while watching a video about like the collapse of the Soviet Union or something. That was during the Water Temple, watching this documentary about the fall of the Ottoman Empire while I was playing the Stone Tower Temple, that's Majora's Mask. I never really got into pirating because a lot of that stuff where it's more complex is just confusing to me. And stop crawling towards me, Jerry. God, fuck. I don't know, watching in Dexter's laboratory, Dee has an experiment you've never seen. I guess that's what makes me a nerd, technically, is basing my entire personality around media. What is media anyway? Media, knowledge, interactions, the particular and the universal. Could you stop crawling towards me? How did you even get here, Mr. Snail? I'm sorry. This is going to be longer than I thought, probably. Puberty, you get anime, and then anime naturally leads to hentai, but then it's like you can overly hentai yourself. You just get too much of it, and then it's just, what the fuck, Japan, But I don't know, in general, I feel with sex and the representation of it in the media, it's just goofy or something. It's all goofy. All this shit is kind of fucking goofy. Goofy and also serious, of course. A serious thing that developmentally it affects all of us, and it's like Sigmund Freud and shit, and the narratives, and Gerard Butler, and the other Butler who is a feminist. Stop crawling towards my foot, man. God, fucking. No respect. Podcasts is another kind of part of YouTube, because it used to be I was big into series and also individual creators. Podcasts and live streams, those are both really big. The Amazing Atheist I was big into. And of course, this is still during the gaming phase, where I think video games, learning about all that IP and all these concepts for how to represent the world in a way that the escapism lends to, like, there's something more than just this, and like, fuck, man, I hope so. Having you can be a Deku Link, right? And you can go into flowers and you can pop out, right? And you have all these skills and you have this whole world in front of you, And it just feels like more meaningful, like you're doing something that and it's also fun. It's just fun. Maybe a bit simplistic as system. I guess also gaming, anime, politics, personality, and what was the other A? Atheism. It all falls into this kind of analysis sort of thing. And I was also into, after I dropped out of high school especially, because I didn't really hang out with people much, maybe like 1 or 2 times, hang out with other kids, until like, I still don't, hang out with my friend Dominic, probably week, monthly or something like that. I didn't step on Jerry, did I? No. I don't know. There's so many people and so many ways they're affected. And I can't fit it all inside my head. And that just makes me... I can't even fit all of myself inside my head. Even all of my expectations, reactions, predictions, the little stories I make about things, and the little things that I'm like, oh, I'm going to say this and that and the other thing, or, just being intimidated by something that hasn't and, or doesn't happen, and then being, looking back at a situation, Was I annoying? Do people really like me? All this stuff. So I guess movies I got into after I dropped out, right? Movies, music, I got into like a lot of that stuff because I guess movies in part, watched a few movies with friends on a couple different occasions, friends from high school. I don't know how to like talk about people, honestly, because you talk about it and you're sort of gleaning like, oh, is it a friend? Is it an acquaintance? It just feels meaningless. Like any number of connections I feel, it could be, all, how do I know? How do I really know? And I just kind of shake it out of my head. I can't really think too much about it, which makes me sad. And I think too much about it, which makes me afraid. But yeah, I guess that's in general why people, talk to each other less. Why people, and of course it's other things. It's that it's fucking hard, You get a education, get a job. What the fuck do you do next? Get married, have kids, adopt, fucking get old, die. All the fucking people with their fucking shit that you can't do shit about. You look and you're like, can I help people? Can I make a difference? Can I listen to people? And me, I'm like, no, definitely not. Even though I want to, definitely not. And when I try to like either find good for myself, find good for other people, I guess the latter I'm able to do. Like, I just helped someone today, like, I don't know, 3 hours ago. It was this guy, this black guy, African guy, and he was like, oh, do you live in this hotel area? And I was like, no. And then he was like, oh, I'm trying to find this apartment building. And I just kind of like helped him for like, I don't know, 5 minutes, But I don't really feel good about that. But this is me ranting. So anyway, my internet history, I guess you can just feel good about it. Then I gave my $3 to this guy with a sign. Virtue signaling. Twitter has an outsized presence on the internet. Gaming YouTube was kind of Chugga Conroy, SGB, Brain Scratch Com, Some Call Me Johnny. What else? I remember I was 12 or something, and I was really attracted to the girls in the Turn Me On parody of Turn Me On by Nicki Minaj, especially the redhead. And what was it? I forget who did that video, but all that, things like Stoned Metal, Jesus and Nintendo Nerd, or the Angry Video Game Nerd, or I forget who is it, Stone Metal Jesus, who has all the kind of video games. Just collection guys, stuff like that can be a bit boring. That guy with the long hair is like dun 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 dun. I mean, nah. I don't watch too much of that guy's stuff. If you know who I'm talking about, the guy with the long hair, who has like a shitload of video games and video game consoles. But I'm aware of him. I guess gaming YouTube I was into, and atheism YouTube really at the same time. But probably a bit later. Five Nights at Freddy's. Who could fucking forget Five Nights at Freddy's? People find that sexually attractive. It's good for them. It's good for them. You know, as long as you're not hurting anybody, which who knows, because in a broad societal sense, anything you could do could hurt anyone, really, you know, intentionally or unintentionally. So you might as well just not do anything, huh? But no, atheism YouTube I got into, I don't even know why. I guess just my religious history. I was a Baha'i for like a couple years or something, and I guess kind of a part religious is that my parents are alcoholics, and well, they've been sober ever since I was born, basically, but they also have a lot of disputes. They have a kind of like rocky way of communicating with each other, though it's gotten better with years, but they're just very easy to kind of spin off the handle, or not, I mean, not quite spin off the handle, but kind of go in a slight tailspin, a mini tailspin. I don't think they're like emotionally quite stable people, frankly. And I know I'm also not emotionally stable, too. I think they're probably kind of codependent. My dad has said as much to me himself, because, like, sometimes he's, like, alone by himself, and he's like, you know, I don't really know what to do without your mom around, or something like that. So, I don't know. Internet. Got into anime. The first anime I got really into was Full Metal Alchemist, because I saw my brother Dylan watching it. Do 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 do. And I don't know, there's something about fantasy, I guess, that fantasy, you know, we call it escapism, but at the end of the day, it's nothing exactly, I guess, the types of things people do, the types of powers that they have, the kind of relationships, the fantastic elements are, you know, debatably fantastic elements are sort of unique to fiction. But then it's just really a heightened version of reality. You know, people can act autistic and they're basically acting like anime characters. Do they have the same internal emotions as the anime characters do? Who's to say? And who's to say that anime characters have internal emotions? You know, what would constitute their internal emotions? The decisions of, like, the creators? That's a whole thing that gets into analysis, anime analysis, with, like, is the author dead? Death of the author. And a YouTuber I was big into, Trial of the Golden Witch, Trixie, a trans woman who has since, I don't know, 2021 or something, just, like, dipped off YouTube. She's, like, gone. Some fucking, you know, underground base in Nevada, or something. I don't fucking know, but I found her videos very, and her entire online personality too, very, Because before that, I was into The Amazing Atheist, TJ, who himself based himself off of Marilyn Manson to an extent. But TJ is very fucking tall. He's like 6'8", and he's also very fucking fat. And he has like so many Kiwi Farms he has so many Kiwi Farms controversies that like I'd look up and I was like, kind of trying to defend him, like, oh, he stuffed a banana up his asshole. So what, sir? That's his right. What else? There's this one where he apparently planned to do a trip around the US or something, but then they say he just got a jacket. Let's see, he's had a couple different cameramen throughout the years. One was Cody, who, if I remember correctly, he was in a relationship with Cody, but then they kind of had a falling out. But I feel like the Cody videos, like, in my opinion, I don't mean to be like, The Amazing Atheist has gone downhill ever since Cody left. Because I guess the 2012 videos, and this is another interesting aspect I find from the internet, which it's in contrast to like Dominic's holistic approach, where he's like religion, entertainment, martial arts, intellectual pursuits. Me, I'm just like, I feel I want to have everything through the internet. I don't want to like divide it into things. But I also realize it's everything through this sort of submarine, not oscilloscope, but periscope, where you're kind of looking up, but you kind of think you're looking forward, right? But you're looking forward and up and out at an angle. We all have these fucking periscopes that we can see the outside world, but the outside world can't see us, right? This one time, I haven't gotten in many, I haven't been localed very often, because I just have, I just think I'm right. But the few couple times I have were, there was this fucking guy on the Drunken Peasants Discord, Samuel L. And I feel like he was just like older than me, like, a 20-something with a job and stuff. But he got on my nerves all the fucking time. And I forget why exactly. I don't even know if he disliked me, but I definitely disliked him. And yeah, fuck that guy. No, just kidding. Got a few friends from the Drunken Peasants podcast on Facebook too. Didn't really talk to them that much though. What else? There was this one time I got this group chat with someone who I guess was like a Westpo alum or something, but he just shared like porn images or something, and so we were like, oh, fuck that guy, I guess, or whatever. He had, I forget what his, that was just a weird thing. That was like a weird Facebook group that like that guy created. I don't know, but I remember it. Never been into Reddit, I'm proud to say. I've never been into like forums in general. The forum I've gotten most into, which I have a hate relationship with, is U.S. Election Atlas, right? Which is kind of the politics YouTube part. Which, how much real... The kind of politics and internet has been like an oxymoron for a long time. Like, if you're on the internet, you're not doing politics. But recently, I got into, and I haven't done it in like a month or maybe 2 months, into canvassing, by phone. And I also did some canvassing in 2020 for the Bernie campaign. Then I voted for Jill Stein, which I'll probably vote for Biden in 2024. Just, so we don't get another Youngkin type situation in Virginia. And, anarcho-Bidenism is cool. But Trixie, one of my favorite videos of hers is, I forget what the title of it is. It might have been about Cabaneri. It had the phrase aesthetic persona. And that made me think, people talk about style and substance, but sometimes the style can be the substance. And I kind of found that significant because it made me think of the whole... We think of substance as a thing, but it's kind of how we stylize that substance that makes it meaningful. Like, all these... I met this guy, Neon, at a 7-Eleven a few weeks ago, and he was talking... he was schizophrenic, which I don't mean that as like a diss, but sort of, like, this is how schizophrenics talk. And it's like, it doesn't mean they're wrong or right. I just stepped on a gooey thing. Oh, I'm sorry. Ooh. Yeah, that's Gary. Are you okay? I don't think he's okay. Oh, no, he's okay. At least he might, take him to the snail hospital. It's very offensive that we step on snails and we're like, ew! Because it's like, imagine stepping on a homeless person and being like, ew! It's like, fuck that. All life is good, I think. I'm sorry, Gary. Gary is another homeless guy I met who was suicidal because he was off his bipolar medication that he couldn't get because he was just out of prison for I think manslaughter or something like that, because there was this guy who fucking shanked or raped I don't know, some friend of Gary's, and then he's like, fuck no. Was it Gary or Jerry? I'm pretty sure it's Gary that I met. I remember it was next to this library, and we were sitting on a bench for most of the time. I gave him $10. I didn't give him my other $10 because I was trying to get into a club. But yeah, he was saying he might jump off a bridge. And that wasn't really kind of the best experience I've had. But I mean, it's good to connect anyways, even if it goes wrong. Or it's sort of unpleasant. But, connections are made. We meet, we part. That's how life works. Seems to work. But I guess there's an aspect to the internet that's like this video, that's like a Tarantino movie, like Reservoir Dogs. It's just, it goes back and forth in time, right? You know, like I was saying, the 2012 videos of The Amazing Atheist with Cody, they have the lighting, they have the editing, they have that force to them, you know, like the one where TJ's on a swing. That's a good one. I forget what it's even called. Like maybe like Fuck Ron Paul or something like that. I feel like a lot of, you know, shock jocks, you know, the libertarian types or whatever, who become, you know, left or whatever. And then there's a discussion like, oh, should we accept them after, because they've been edgy, they've been spicy or whatever, you know, Vosh, Hassan hasn't been very spicy though, maybe a bit spicy, but you know, like anything spicy to like the wokest of the woke, I guess, because like they just, you know, have a trauma, and it's like, okay, you know, you just gotta watch out for yourself, dude. You know, the world sucks, sorry. And sometimes it's like, no, you're kind of just a baby. You're just being a baby. This isn't like a real trauma. This is just you being like, it's ableist for you to say I have to eat my vegetables. That's actually oppression. Which, like, if you want, just keep eating cereal. I really don't care, but like, don't try to like make it like you're persecuted because like you only eat vegetables and people are like, dude, you should eat like an apple. That's not how that works. I don't know. Books, right? Like, I got into another phase of reading books. I'm kind of out of it by now because I've been too busy. But I got into another phase after meeting this girl, Rowan, and, just getting really into reading books, kind of imagining the inner worlds of people, I guess, became more the motivation. There's a thin line. I read a lot of Murakami. She said her dad got her that book, and I was like, yeah, that's a weird book to get, though I guess if it's just kind of, you hear about, what was it, Kafka on the Shore, but if you just hear about like the cat part of the book, then it kind of makes sense. But then you get to the weird sort of surrealist sexuality of Murakami, which is very, you know, like self-insert, I guess. Japan. That's one thing. I think Hassan had this take. I think he did. And he was like, welcome to the NHK. I just dislike, it could not be Hassan that I'm talking about. He was like, welcome to the NHK. He gets with Misaki at the end. And I'm like, well, one, I don't know their ages. But probably, yeah, you know, if you're reading it as that, that's like, that's very sus. Then two, I don't know, the point of it, I guess, if you look at it as like a serious thing, right? Even let's say there is a relationship, which we can then get into. There's more controversial anime about that, which I feel like you can dislike, you can say are unrealistic or a bit sort of, I wouldn't even, what was that anime that was about the estranged siblings? One of them is like, I don't know, 16 or something. One of them is 27 and a business guy. You know, I guess that one, it anime, dude. Fucking anime. Jesus Christ. Something Blue. Aoi something is the name of that anime. I forget the other part. Midori Days. That's the one where a guy has a girlfriend for a hand. And at first he's just like, I fucking hate having a girlfriend for a hand. And then he's like, oh yeah, I think I'm falling in love with you, girlfriend I have as a hand. Japan? But I don't know. There's an anachronistic thing to it. There's a non-linear thing to the internet with how you construct stuff. And I've never been part of like the social internet, as I was saying. I mean, I guess to an extent, but that guy, I think his name was Christian something on Facebook, kind of like, and like other things. The most part of the internet I've been socially was just, I said fuck Windows updates 312 times. Then my sister Gabby was just like, Harry, Windows updates have to download to your computer. And I was like, no, I don't believe in that. I want to always delay it because I'm not sure that it'll keep my 40 tabs open from 2 different browsers. Probably like, you know, some math stuff, some calculus stuff. I stopped learning too much math when I was, I don't know, 9th grade. It's harder to organize by then, I guess. It becomes more and more dendritic, more branch-like, branches, twigs. You know, you need to shandify that stuff. You need to choose your own adventure, it maybe. I don't know. The guy, Arby's, I don't know. Look up that, Arby's, I don't know. Someone tried to rob an Arby's. That's a great meme video. But yeah. Digibros, it's now Vic and Hope. Sorry if that first one is a dead name. That's so internet. Vic and Hope, I watched like a lot, you know, some of the series twice. Like, oh man, their Pokemon Fire Red, or was it Leaf Green, Let's Play lasted so fucking long. It lasted for like years. Like Mumkey Jones even got on that one for like a couple episodes. I think he was on for like the finale even. He was like, oh, you know, Victor, you don't really know how to play video games. I wonder what Vic and Hope are doing now. But yeah, Vic and Hope are cool. But they don't upload that much. And I mean, they're kind of normies, but that's kind of cool. They're not quite normies, obviously. They're still pretty autistic, but, you know, not so autistic. Trixie also probably has a few Kiwi Farms things. You know, like, normies think lolis are pedophilia, which they probably are. If we're being completely fair, like, most anime is pedophilia, probably. I mean, but, like, when you have someone, you know, like, from Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann, who, you know, she's fully stacked and all that, you know, that could be some 14-year-old, But I don't believe that's a 14-year-old. You know, aesthetically, sure. But does it still promote pedophilia? Yes. Anime and Japan are really weird. I don't even know why I got into that subject and topic. But, you know, so Trixie, The Amazing Atheist, then after those two, I don't know if after those two I really had like an internet sort of avatar, I guess you'd call them. Because then it went to like podcasts, and I was more individuated as a person, or whatever the fuck you want to say. I guess kind of Eric from Talking with Famous People, but I kind of fucking hate that guy. Like, I'm being sort of sarcastic, because I mean, how can you like hate a guy you don't even know, that you haven't even talked to? But his arguments are so shit. He's just like a boilerplate libertarian, you know, like socially left, kind of socially left, I guess, for the most part, with some like crank sort of argument shit when he isn't socially left, then like economically right, kind of like he's social security and stuff like that. Oh, God, fucking Eric. And then, his argumentation style is so annoying, because I guess it's just a proper argumentation style. But then he's also, I don't know, he feels too abstract. He feels too railroaded. I don't know, but that could be just me also saying like, oh, he's too good at argument. I don't know, but it's just, there's too much argument that I just find this cringe. Like, he's like, oh, I have this a relative of mine who lives off disability, but they don't actually have disability. You know, the usual fucking crank, you know, old school Republican when they weren't Nazis sort of stuff, you know? Where you're like, you know, Harry F. Byrd Jr., who's part of, you know, ancestry going back to like this fucking goldsmith from Cheshire, England, who fucking gave birth to William Byrd the first, then William Byrd the second, the third, and you have like Harry F. Byrd Jr., who's like, I believe that the middle class is being stomped out by this welfare for the rich and for the poor. Fuck that guy. I had to do a fucking biography about that guy. I don't know, maybe he did like one anti-lynching law or something, or maybe it was a pro-lynching law. I forget. Fuck that guy. He can suck my dick. Then I did another biography about Crispus Attucks, but I couldn't really find many sources about him, but I think he was cool, if I remember correctly. He was one of the guys who died in the Boston Massacre. In a way, the internet is kind of just like information. And so like, what makes the internet is that you have this automatic place for people to convene and talk about information or find information, you know, without even leaving their homes. You know, you can just look up whatever question you have. But then the limitation is whatever question you have, because a lot of these people are trying to like act knowledgeable and stuff, but then their sources are like, oh yeah, I watch every Joe Rogan podcast or some shit. They don't actually go the Felix from Chapo Trap House route and actually, you know, research all the factionalism in the Middle East. I don't know how knowledgeable truly Felix is about the Middle East, though. I haven't seen like deep down podcasts about it, but yeah, he's funny. He's a funny member of Chapo Trap House. The rest of them are a bit sort of more, I don't know, they're also sort of shock jocks, and I guess the thing about shock jocks, like, I guess Hassan and Vosh are sort of like this too, is the comedy isn't really funny. It's more just like, oh, I agree with this, so I find it funny. I mean, the comedy can be funny too, but it's not like comedian grade. Tim Minchin, I was big into. What else? Different MBTI videos. That was the personality sort of part. I was big into, like, I don't know, 1819, something like that, because I guess it gives this, MBTI is a lot like, it's astrology, but I feel in a good way, because astrology, it just doesn't have enough steps, I feel. Astrology is just like memorizing maps, right? And it's sometimes coming up with creative ways to, like, explain them or use them to rationalize stuff. But, like, MBTI, it's not really as complicated as astrology, it feels, because astrology, it feels you always have, like, these different systems. I don't really know astrology. It could be more simple. And also, astrology is more woo-woo, at least because it's, like, more elements and stuff. While MBTI, say what you want about it, it's at least, I don't know, where does astrology come from? Like, Nazis? While I'm pretty sure, was Jung Jewish? Maybe he wasn't Jewish. All I'm saying is, if someone's Jewish, give their ideas more credence. You know, Albert Einstein. Fuck Hitler. Got big into movies. Watched all the Tarantino movies online, Coen movies, Wes Anderson, all that different stuff. Got into a lot of Japanese movies, Sion Sono, Takashi Miike, especially before I got a job. It was 2020, I guess, that was before I got a job, maybe 2019. And this was also kind of the period, there was a period Dominic had that thing, and he organized that thing with that other thing. I forget all the steps. Dominic having that thing was a bit later, but me watching over my grandma for maybe it was a month or a couple months in 2020, I think. It's weird how the years go by. Like, I haven't been, I guess I've failed in a lot of ways, but, you know, you gotta fail. Better to fail than to not do anything at all. No, fuck that. It's better to not doing anything at all. Man, I wish I could make up for my mistakes. So, I don't know, there's an aspect of the internet, creepypastas too, I listened to a lot in high school. Like, especially during health class, where there's really nothing to do. Listening to nu metal in history class, like Rage Against the Machine, like, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. Like, there was this kid, Tony, I think he was El Salvadoran, and I think he liked my music taste. I had, like, Nirvana, and he was like, yeah, you're listening to Rape Me, and then I was like, yeah, hell yeah, you know, but I was too awkward at that time. History class, I had this friend, Karis, who I'd banter with her, mainly one-sided banter of me bantering, and she introduced me to Bo Burnham, and she also talked about Homestuck, which I was like, what the fuck is Homestuck, you know, and I wasn't really curious at all, right? But then a few years later, after I drop out of school, right, And I had a slight crush on Karis. Not too big. I mean, I guess slight, however much of a crush or whatever. It's all socially constructed. It grows and decays. Crushes are weird. So then Homestuck, I learn about, I don't know, there's this fascination you get with listening to things that you don't know shit about. The SGB commentaries, Brain Scratch comms, they also had commentaries on things that I listened to, which are basically like podcasts, like series retrospectives and stuff like that, which were pretty fun. There was this one guy, Archimedes123, who made this series about what if Nintendo won the console war against PlayStation or something like that, and the N64 actually had discs or something like that. It was kind of interesting, but he never really completed that series. There's this video on the definition of math. A fox just ran into those bushes over there. No, I'm not answering your call. What, am I being that loud? God fucking damn it. My mom just called me. This is a state of the modern day Zoomer, is to be called by your mom. And I'm like, fuck you, Mom. No, I love you, Mom. But don't call me. I can't be that loud, can I? I don't know. I feel like I've always been louder than I think I am. And then my dad is like, you're not speaking loudly enough. And I'm like, that's because I don't feel like speaking right now. And you're asking me 80 billion questions about, like, whose dish is this or that. Learning math, learning personality, making different systems. I guess there's an aspect to the internet and to nerddom, which when we get into like astrology and MBTI, it's more nerd shit. And I feel like what makes stuff nerd shit is that it doesn't really have applications. It's just fun. But like astrology, we don't really see as nerd shit because like women can't be smart, of course. And because we imagine like everything women do, they actually have self-awareness of it. So if women say a joke, then we're just kind of like, I'm sorry, do you have brain damage? And then they're like, oh, it was a joke. And we're like, that doesn't compute with me, I'm sorry. I don't understand. A woman trying to be funny? No. But what is a woman anyway? You know? Women, if you want to be funny, better be trans. Dudes rock. That was a good one. What do you think Elliot Page is on, huh? Why do you think he's suddenly funny? Huh? I don't know. TV shows, Euphoria, Stranger Things. The first TV show I got really into was The Walking Dead, because the aspect of apocalypse really appealed to me. And I was a fan of Resident Evil before, too. I don't know, I just like zombies and apocalypse, because I've often felt like I live in like a post-apocalyptic world. What else? Movies. Man, I talked about everything. Sion Sono, Takashi Miike, all this different stuff you get into, the different anime. at this point, talking about it would be sort of, you know, going into painful detail, which, I don't know, I don't have the story thought up in my head to tell, or the enthusiasm. Friendly Jordies, I got into his side videos, Jordan Shanks. There's a lot of different digressing and side questing like that. That's also a channel too, digressing and side questing. Extra credits, I don't know, Yahtzee and a few of his Let's Play series. Though his videos are a bit kind of, they're just Gordon Ramsay or Angry Video Game Nerd, but like a bit more intellectual. But it's also like, I haven't played any of these video games, so I don't really know if this is a good or a bad review. A lot of just watching gaming YouTube was because like I couldn't really afford games, and I lost all my games. Like I got Super Mario Bros. Super Mario Bros. 3 or something like that. Or it wasn't 3, it was a shitty one. I think it might have been Super Mario Bros. 2, right? The shitty one. Or at least I thought it was shitty. I got Final Fantasy Legends, Final Fantasy Adventure, and I've lost a lot of video games. So many fucking video games. I don't think I lost Final Fantasy Adventure or Legends, though. But both of those games, they kind of have that NES clunkiness that makes them very difficult and unintuitive to play. Final Fantasy 1 I played on the iPhone. There's just, you have to escape from this world because it'll fucking eat you. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, Trixie did a video on that, and I got really into it. It made me really empathize with Kanye's perspective, which I feel that's like his last kind of self-aware album too, because it's about his My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, his honesty about his inability to sort of match his expectations with what he should do, and how his expectations get ahead of him, and how, I don't know, he basically has this sort of super ego id monster, or whatever you would call it, that, you know, just fucks up his communication with people. Shoutouts to Kanye. Stop being an anti-Semite. Start being cool again, please. Maybe you were never cool. Maybe none of us were ever cool. Got into a lot of music through Trixie, and through Rate Your Music. Recently, a lot of different documentaries on like Burundi, and like these people who bike bananas to these markets, and they like go up hills by like hanging onto trucks, speed up by hanging onto trucks on their bikes. And they have so many fucking bananas. There's even people who carry like whole fucking furniture while like riding a bike. It's so impressive. Just these Nigerian Muslims who like train animals in the streets. You get a whole lot of information on these little small things in the world. Or in Myanmar, these fishers who go out for like days, weeks, months at a time to get this one particular type of fish or something like that. That guy Bald and Bankrupt, I think he's basically a creep. He's like a sex tourist. Didn't watch too much of him. The other Russian guy who's moved out of Russia, I forget his name, but he seems pretty cool. hey, it's your guy, Alex. What are you having here? And, people criticize him for using Ebonics. But, keep doing your thing. Just don't say the N-word. That's right. Get big into death grips. I feel like, I got really into Tool at first. Was my first big band that I was like, this is so cool. Of course, before that it was like System of a Down and Rage Against the Machine, and then also like Slipknot and what? And Marilyn Manson, of course, that I'd download as MP3s. And then the MP3s would be all like tinny and shitty. Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Got really big into Tool. Then, by the time LTE became a thing, I didn't really have to download music, so that was more when I got into high school, when I had an iPhone that had LTE, that I could listen to Steven Wilson or stuff like that, Porcupine Tree, going home from the bus, or listen to 10,000 Days going home. Is this really going to be some shit where something's going to happen? I don't know. No, but I remember this one time I was biking to school. All right, I was late to school, and I was biking to school. It was either to school, I think it was to school, or to the GED program. Probably not the GED program. At the GED program, I listened to a lot of Ghost, From the Pinnacle to the Pit, and I listened to the Modest Mouse, This Is a Long Drive for Somebody with Nothing to Talk About, or that album, which is good. That was also around the time I was watching Welcome to the NHK, and I watched it in English, Japanese, and Spanish. Watched Eureka 7, watched Samurai Champloo, Cowboy Bebop, all the good stuff. Infinite Revice, I forgot how I even heard about. I think it was from a video about the soundtrack from, I don't know, was it Xander Hall? But you should look up the Infinite Revice soundtrack analysis. Whoever did that, got me into it, so thanks. And it's kind of about humanity needing to move from the planet to the stars, and they have this kind of they have this experiment with a bunch of kids that they do it to, because I guess only kids can survive it or something. There's this kind of gene explanation thing. Sort of whatever that King of the Flies in space is a concept. And I don't know, it's a very sociological movie, because it shows, how there's negative elements, and then how the positive elements come, and the positive elements become kind of negative elements, like the Hobbesian Leviathan. It has this kind of mystical perspective of the ship, and the people's connection to the ship. All this different stuff and different plot lines. It's pretty good anime, because in a plot-wise thing, it's sort of like this whole sci-fi premise, but it's very personal. I think it gets to be, even with the kind of heightened stakes, the sort of very fictional stakes that are hard to really imagine, or not quite fictional, but unrelated to, my own experience, at least. I mean, I guess that's basically, in a way, it's different, but that's basically what the colonists did. More black people, of course, the white people, some of them had a pretty hard time of it, probably like froze to death, ate each other. But, black people we totally fucked over, and Native Americans. But then you have like Harry F. Byrd Jr. and his fucking great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, William Byrd, who's the son of this fucking goldsmith that I read is basically, a lot of them were bankers. So then his father might have been like a banker in Cheshire. And then he comes over and he's like, I'm hot shit. I'm one of the ruling families of Virginia. And then his fucking great-great-great-great-great-great-grandson is like, I don't like this welfare for these people, And you know what he means by people. He means black people, because he's like, I don't think black people should be educated. There's this whole thing. They're called the forgotten generation, of a generation of African Americans who didn't get schooling because of this attempt by the Byrd administration to subvert Brown versus Board of Education, right? Fuck that guy. I hope he burns in hell. Not really, because I don't believe in hell. And if, say, I believe in an afterlife, because, we're kind of going with this experimental thing where we're kind of allowing all possibilities. We're not merely being like scientism. Science is the only thing that exists is what we can, obviously see. Then I think, Harry F. Byrd Jr. should be, maybe just reincarnate him as like I wouldn't say a slug, because I have more respect for Jerry than I do Harry. Speaking of which, let's have another rendezvous with Jerry. Where did Jerry go? Yeah, I don't see Jerry anymore. He must have hauled ass. I don't know. There's a whole lot with the internet. I guess it just shows you that people exist who, feel like you do, who act like you do. Which I guess is its own thing, because what does it mean that you have that? How old is that sort of culture shit? Almost Famous, that movie where the guy is like, interviewing the rock stars, or does it go back to even, people with kings or whatever, who they have this parasocial relationship with them? Or does it go back to, Samuel L. Jackson in Django Unchained, who's, really the one in control? This sort of sycophant behavior, or this sort of, parasocial, this Avatar sort of thing. Avatar, I don't think I liked that much. It was okay. Every movie before I was 15, except like the Indiana Jones movies, the Terminator movies, the maybe Interstellar, and the movies I saw at like the sleepover I had when I was like 14, I was like, wow, movies are good. You don't say. Like, we saw Reservoir Dogs. No, we saw Inglourious Bastards, and I was like, yeah, that's a shit. Versus, like, what was that? 12 Angry Men, that's also a great movie, but then the other movie that Inglourious Bastards is based on from, like, the 60s, that's, I think my grandma showed me that, and I was like, Mare, just show me Terminator again. Just show me Back to the Future. Back to the Future we had on tapes, though, at my house. And that's how I saw that. Same as Indiana Jones. We had on, I think, VHS tapes. Makes me feel old. I'm just kidding. It doesn't make me feel old that I've seen stuff on VHS. I'm not some fucking baby. Monsters, Inc., I feel, is also... It had an impression on me. Finding Nemo, I don't think I really ever liked that movie that much. Except that it's based in Australia. And the guys go, Mike? I don't know. The people in it just look unnerving. Especially the dentist scene. Oh, God. Why would you have that? So I don't like Finding Nemo. Because why can't you just, like, not find him? How about that, man? And I guess the answer is because Nemo would have died. But I think Nemo would have been okay. He had the fish with a scar on him. And Hugo. Hugo is also a good movie that I really liked before I was 14. Watched Bleach. I watched like 200 episodes of Bleach, I think. This was also back when my mom had like the laptop connected to the TV. So we'd use a laptop to kind of go on the TV. So this was kind of before smart TV was a big thing. This was also maybe when like Netflix wasn't a streaming site, it was just like discs. But maybe it was a bit after that. It was probably a bit after that because I had Netflix on my phone, I think, by then. But yeah, I watched Full Metal Alchemist. That was how my brother was watching it on the TV. I don't know who he heard it from, though. So you can probably tell that I'm kind of a nerd. I don't like Marvel movies, though. I like Invincible. That's a good series from the same creator as The Walking Dead. I didn't like the comics for Invincible too much, but I like the show. I like Glenn Yun. He's in a lot of good shit. Like, he was in he was in Beef, obviously, which is on Netflix, a lot of people know. He was in Burning, the Korean movie, where he mostly speaks Korean, and I'm like, cool. He was in this movie where he gets fired, and he decides to kill his boss, which I was like, God, fuck yes. I guess I can fit it into another context. Post-punk I got really into probably around 2019, before COVID started. Maybe even January 2019, but I can't decide on for sure. But I found this huge chart of post-punk, which I heard about post-punk from the channel Shallow Rewards. I heard about Shallow Rewards from Trixie, who talked about the series. So just this whole feast of like information about stuff, I guess, about different series, different media, different retrospectives on media you can have. It's interesting how you organize all of it. But I guess that organization can itself kind of become this bland reproduction of past highs. I guess post-punk, I don't know if I got into post-punk before or after getting into RYM. It could be that post-punk, because I'm thinking, I was into Tool for a while, right? Then maybe Encyclopedia Metallum. Fuck that website. Fuck Encyclopedia Metallum. They don't have System of a Down as metal. Fuck you. Go fuck yourself. Mars Volta I got into from Trixie. Death Grips from Trixie. Rage Against the Machine, as I was saying, I got into by myself. And those 4 bands, Tool, Rage Against the Machine, Mars Volta, Death Grips, I've had as sort of a tableau of sort of artists I like. A lot of it is prog. Like, one side is prog and one side is rap rock, basically. Death Grips, Rage Against the Machine. Prog is Tool, Mars Volta. And I don't know, I feel like Mars Volta even is similar to Death Grips lyrically more, while Tool is a bit more Rage Against the Machine, because Tool and Rage Against the Machine are about this kind of positive consciousness, but then Mars Volta and Death Grips can be more about this like negative consciousness. Like Francis the Mute, for instance, is about their I forget if it was the sound engineer who had died, who had overdosed for deloused in the comatorium, and they'd based that album partly on, which that's another great album, which has its own thing with tremulence. I feel like Cedric is, I think he writes his own lyrics. He's a very sci-fi guy, but I also got the vibe he was sort of bored of the band a lot of the time, because then you got Omar, who's just like a whole director in his own right, you know, almost like a sort of whoever directed The Shining, I'm blacking out on his name right now. Almost that kind of character with his kind of like precision to stuff. You know, ENTP, INTJ, that sort of like weird combination of the two, where it's like wacky and imaginative versus like strict and with a vision, but they go together so perfectly, you know? But Francis the Mute is this diary, Jared Ward, I think his name was, something Ward, Jimmy Ward, found in this car he was repairing in Mexico, I believe, and it was about this person who'd been trying to search for their biological mother. And so it's basically a story of this person throughout their life and how they eventually, I forget if they find it out or they don't find it out. I think they find it out and they're distraught, and they're like, I didn't find out what I wanted to find out, basically. And Death Grips is just similarly about, I guess this is a theory people have, these just characters. Like in The Money Store, it's this like psychotic character who's just, you know, fucking the psychology of like someone who would be hustle bones coming out my mouth, or like hydroplane massive abraxas. Shit. You know, just driving at like high speeds away from cops. Awesome. Or hacking into computer networks, stuff like that. Underworld types. which a lot of people LARP as nowadays, like that girl with a lisp who's like, I got your charger, and she does these raps, and she got like rich from Bitcoin. That was funny as shit. Wang, if I didn't mention, is a big YouTuber. Some Ordinary Gamers, Moist Critical. I haven't gotten big into Moist Critical, but he's a cool guy. He seems like a cool guy. Churdleys I got into more recently, like 2021 maybe, 2022. I really like this YouTuber, Drew Phillips, with 2 L's, because he has these videos that are sort of, they're hiding, they're like parodies of Logan Paul videos almost, because he's like acting really stupid, and his friends are also acting really stupid, but it's almost believable that they're that stupid. It's like a vlog version of Always Sunny or something, but it's kind of funny because by acting that stupid, they're kind of being stupid in the first place, but they have this like insight into how stupid people act, because maybe they are just stupid people. Maybe I'm just a stupid person. Bands, Gesu no Kiwami Otome and Frederick, 2 good Japanese bands that sound very math rocky. Got into math rock, got into post-punk through a big chart of post-punk, which kind of fascinated me with kind of tying this, the music, the media, to kind of culture and how that all works, because before it was a bit like disconnected, but then you kind of connected. It's hard to connect media to reality. I guess that's all, really. Earl Sweatshirt is cool. There's a lot of cool stuff on the internet. Captivated Vacancies. I'm gonna play now. There's something. I'm gonna go in the house, I think, because my throat is sore from talking so much. Yeah, I'm gonna go inside and play that song, and it's gonna be an end cap to the video, sort of like the end cap to Project Awesomeness on the Modal Hosol Productions channel, where Victor and Trixie finish it by playing Rat King So It Goes while like doing hot dog shit, and then the Mac DeMarco song plays. That's a very nostalgic video for me. Do I have anything else to say? Oh yeah, I got really into charting counties and geography and languages and linguistics. But I guess that's just life. Am I locked out? There better be a fucking key here. I hate white women so much. Did I mention I was too much of a perv in high school or something? God fucking damn it. My mom watches too much true crime and she's way too worried about dog bites. Fuck this shit. Alright, bye.